What's going on YouTube? Flashy here. Welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. Now if you guys are like me, over the past couple days you've been playing the NR Festival non-stop just because of how many different decks you can make. I swear I think I've gone through like 5 or 6 NR decks already just because they're so cheap to make and they're so much fun to play. But I think I've officially found one of the most fun and honestly kind of busted decks, and that is the YOSENJU KAIJU deck. This deck is absolutely crazy. I've been playing it non-stop and I just have to show you guys how this works. Now the way this deck works is really simple. You are just bouncing cards back to your hand, back to your opponent's hand. Literally no card gets to stay on the field all the way through to the end of the turn and into the next standby phase. You are constantly just bouncing, setting trap cards, sending your opponent's cards back, bringing your cards back. It's absolutely crazy. You're using the kaijus to destroy monsters on your opponent's side of the field and then take the kaijus back, re-destroy monsters. I mean, the way this deck works is just a ton of fun. Almost to the point where I'm like, I could probably use this in ranked, not just the NR event, but specifically in the NR event, this deck is absolutely awesome. So as always, we're going to jump into the gameplay first, and then at the end of the video, we're going to go through the entire deck profile, card by card, to break down how this one works. If you guys have been watching the Master Duel videos, you guys know we usually jump into a game, we do a live commentary style, breaking down the play-by-play and what I'm thinking at the time. But honestly, I feel like even if I tried, I could not find a more perfect duel to show off how insane this deck is than the duel that I had last night when I was just testing this out. I knew I wanted to make a video on it, but I was kind of just testing it out, adjusting it and things like that, and I ran into literally the most perfect way to describe how good this deck is. So if you guys have been playing the NR event, megaliths and ritual decks are everywhere and they're running rampant and they are disgusting. However, this YOSENJU KAIJU deck completely shut down this megalith deck that we went up against last night. So as you guys can see, in our opening hand, we got 3 trap cards, we got an MST, and then we get the 1 YOSENJU, which is all we want. The first thing they're going to do is they're just going to start their summons of incantations. And at first, I was like, okay, I have never seen these before, but this looks like it's going to get a little intense. Then I see that they start adding ritual monsters and stuff, and I was like, okay, here we go. It's going to be a ritual. And then, of course, the first ritual monster comes out, the megalith, and I was like, okay. Honestly, at this point, I kind of rolled my eyes in my chair, and I was like, you know what, man? I don't even want to play. But I had to test this deck out, see what it can do. I was like, all right, I'll play against the megaliths, and we'll see how we do today. So they're going to do their thing. They're going to go to the end phase with 1 megalith, 2500 attack monster out. And now we draw the most insane card I've ever seen in this event. And at first, when I had this in the deck, I was like, when am I ever going to use that? This card, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. I was like, I don't want to banish my cards. That's any monster. But then I remembered in YOSENJU's, you're not putting any cards in the graveyard anyway because they're all getting sent back to your hand. So I was like, okay, let's try this out. So I activate Dimensional Fissure. I set all 3 of my traps. We got Compulsory. We got Sword Sting. And then we also have Torrential Tribute set, which is such a good card because even though it's all monsters are destroyed, you're never really going to have monsters on your side of the field when you want to activate this anyway. So then we send out the YOSENJU Kama 1. Unfortunately, we do not have another YOSENJU in our hand. So I was like, okay, I'll just take the incantation out. It gets banished. YOSENJU Kama 1 back to my hand. Let's let our opponent go. And we have all of these trap cards down here for them not to be able to do anything. So they summon Manju. I'm just going to go with Torrential Tribute on that. The way my brain worked with this was, if my opponent summons 2 monsters, I think that's a good deal for Torrential Tribute. 2 for 1, technically. Technically 2 for 0, because I'm not destroying any of my monsters, but in terms of cards, it's 2 for 1. So then they're going to go back into their megalith and their ritual summoning. I don't even know how this deck works. I just know it's really tough to deal with. But they get their double incantations out. Everything gets banished. Everything's gone, and I love it. So now they're going to get a next ritual monster out, the next megalith Bathor. They're just going to drop that into defense, and guess what? I got a Sword Sting, so I'm going to activate YOSENJU Kama, or I'm going to reveal YOSENJU Kama 1, and that's going to send that megalith back to their hand. So this deck right now is literally just banishing and sending back to the hand. Now I can send out YOSENJU Kama 1, get the free 1600 while setting another card, YOSENJU Kama 1 back to my hand, and your opponent literally can't do anything. It's crazy. If you get the combination of like Torrential Tribute, at least 1 YOSENJU card, and then Dimensional Fissure, it's wild. So they send out a Time Lord. I'm like, I'm not trying to deal with that. Compulsory, back to the hand. And now they're going to do some more ritual stuff. Try to get another megalith out, I believe. Incantation. And guess what? 2 cards are out. Torrential Tribute. Get that out of here. Banished. No graveyard effects. Nothing. And now we draw our second YOSENJU card. And this is where it starts to turn up. So we can normal summon. And that's the crazy thing about YOSENJUs. They're all normal summons. Even though you're like summoning again a second one, it's a normal summon. So any of these like Lost Wind or any special summon cards that deal with special summons, no problems here because this is all normal summon. So YOSENJU Kama 1 comes out. We can immediately resolve After the normal summon, we can send one more Yosenju out as a normal summon, and we get our Isna out. Isna has a really cool effect. If you control another Yosenju monster, you can draw a card. So you get a lot of advantage in this deck. So we're going to activate that effect, draw our third Torrential Tribute, and we're going to attack for 16 and 8. End phase comes along. I think do I set Torrential here? No. Oh, I don't set because I think they have a Time Lord, so I don't want to set anything. So both of the Yosenju's back to my hand. I don't want to set anything because they got a Time Lord that's going to shuffle all my cards back into the deck, and I don't want to deal with that. So here comes Zaphion again. He does his thing, and this is where the Dimensional Fissure, unfortunately, is gone, but we banished 8 of their monsters with that. 2 Megaliths and 6 other monsters with that Dimensional Fissure, which is such a crazy card, man. It is so good. So Zaphion's going to do his thing. We're going to draw the Moon Mirror Shield. What I'm going to do again is just bring Yosenju out. I think here I just go for the draw. Oh, no, I send it back to the hand. Okay, that's actually awesome. I completely forgot about that. So you can normal summon comma 1. Off his effect, you can now normal summon another one. So I normal summon Isna. Now, since I control 2 Yosenju monsters, essentially I have another one. What I can do is, since I control another Yosenju monster, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So back goes the Zaphion one more time. So I send it back to the hand. Now I can also affect Yosenju Isna's effect, where I get to draw a card because I have another Yosenju, and then we get our Godarla, which is going to be super clutch in this. We take the 16, we take the 8, go to main phase 2. I don't set anything because I know they still got a Time Lord that's going to shuffle anything in my back row back to the deck. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that right now. So we go into the opponent's draw phase. I got the Godarla. I got 2 Yosenjus. I am sitting great right now. But unfortunately, no D-Fissure. So nothing's going to get banished. So a little bit sketchy here, but we have a massive life point advantage. So I'm not too scared about it. But they go into their Megalith full. They're going to do some more ritual summoning shenanigans here. I'm not even going to pretend to know like what these cards do, because I just don't. All I know is I got trap cards and I got Yosenjus and Kaijus, and that's all I need. I don't need to read the other opponent's cards. I just need to read my own. So they get 2 big, beefy Megalith cards out, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of like, how am I going to deal with this? I didn't put the Torrential down because I sent the Time Lord back. They go into another ritual summon here. Or no, sorry, they go into Draglubion. And this is where it starts to get sketchy. So Draglubion can activate its effect, and it brings out the number 92 Heart Earth. And this is just where I'm kind of like, did I just lose this because I didn't set Torrential Tribute or anything? But just wait, because it gets so crazy. So Draglubion is honestly one of the boss monsters of this NR event. A lot of people are running it. A lot of people are trying to summon it with their decks. They're kind of creating decks around this Draglubion and Heart Earth thing going on here. And I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, what am I going to do? So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to set 2, and I'm going to summon Godarla. So it took me a little while to think about it. You don't really see it in the gameplay. But I was like, which one do I get rid of? And I was like, you know what? Let's get rid of number 92 Heart Earth because of its effect. I don't want it to do anything crazy. So I was like, let me go Godarla here. And mind you, I set a Yosenju Sword Sting and a Torrential Tribute before. So I set both of these. Then I summon the Godarla. Now what I do is I activate Yosenju comma 1. I'm going to now summon Isna. Remember, Yosenju comma 1 can send one opponent's monster back to their hand if you control another Yosenju. Guess what I'm sending back to my hand? The Godarla. Comes right back to my hand. I use Godarla again, and I take out their Draglubion for free. And dude, it is just so crazy. And now what I do is I activate... This was a slight misplay. I could have won on this turn. But what I do next is activate Moon Mirror Shield, which essentially, you equip it to a monster, and if this monster battles, it gets the opponent's monster's attack plus 100. So you always get to go over it. You don't get to do a lot of life point damage, but you get to go over it. What I should have done is attached it to my Isna, because it had less health. I could have destroyed my Godarla, sent it to my graveyard, and then killed for 1600. Unfortunately, I accidentally added it to my comma 1. Not the biggest mistake, but what I should have done there was add it to the Isna, because now I'm going to do 800. They're going to have 700 left. But that double Godarla play, dude, as soon as I hit that, I was like, this might be the most insane deck I've ever seen in my life. So then what I do next is I send that shield back to the top of my deck. After it goes to the graveyard, you can pay 500 and put it on the top of your deck or the bottom of your deck. I put it on top just in case I summon something big and I need to get over it again. So now we go back into our draw phase. We get the Moon Mirror Shield because we put it on top of our deck. Main phase 1, same combo. Here comes comma 1. Here comes Isna. What we're going to do is draw a card off Isna. Now I get Yosenju Training Ground. Doesn't really matter. I just kind of activate it. But we go into GG and we completely shut down, taking only 500 life points from our own card effect. And we just destroyed the Megalith Ritual deck. I mean, dude, Yosenju Kaiju is crazy. You guys got to try it out. But now with that breakdown out of the way, let's get into the full deck profile so you guys can make this deck for yourselves. Like I've been saying this whole video, it is just the most exciting, fun, combo-heavy deck that you could build, dude. I'm having a blast with it. So the first card we're going to run, we run one YOSENJU KAIJU. Unfortunately, this did not come into effect in the gameplay. But essentially what you can do is you can banish this card from your graveyard and normal summon one YOSENJU monster during your main phase in addition to your normal summon set. Again, another normal summon. Absolutely ridiculous. So this is a really fun one. We also have some big YOSENJU monsters that can come out with this. You can really, just depends on what situation you're in and what YOSENJUs you have in your hand. But this is just a really good card. We run it at 1. The next one, again, was not in the gameplay, but Neospatian Grand Mole, a classic card. This card battles an opponent's monster. You can return both the opponent's monster and this card to the hand. So again, just another really simple monster to bounce cards back to the hand. So now we go into our YOSENJU package. We run 3 1s. This is the one that you can normal summon one more YOSENJU monster from your hand. And you can also target one face-up card your opponent controls and return it to their hand. This was the crazy one that we were running in that gameplay. So 3 of those. We go 3 YOSENJU, 2. This one is pretty cool because this one can attack directly, but when doing so, you have the battle damage. So you're usually just going to be attacking directly for 900, but still a really good card. And of course, like all YOSENJUs, you bounce it back to your hand during your end phase if it was normal summon. Then we go 3 3s, which was a awesome one, where when another YOSENJU monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, add 1 YOSENJU card from your deck to your hand. And then, of course, like all of them, end phase, bounce it back to your hand. Really quick, just to break it down. This one gets to bounce a monster. 1 bounces a monster back. 2 can attack your opponent directly, usually for 900 attack. 3 adds a YOSENJU from your deck to your hand. And now we get into Isna, which was the lethal combo where we use 1 and Isna in that gameplay. 3 YOSENJU Isnas, and what this card does is you can use it as a quote-unquote hand trap, where you essentially get a free YOSENJU summon and your opponent can't do anything about it. So if you're trying to play a little bit of protection, you can do that. But for the most part, I use it for the draw. If you control another YOSENJU monster, you can draw 1 card. We're getting some awesome advantage off of 1, get an additional normal summon during our turn, and then we go into the Isna and we get to draw a card. Really, really solid. And then we have the big boy YOSENJU, YOSENJU Misak. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy. You can actually go into this guy off of KAIJU because you get to normal summon any YOSENJU monster during your main phase. And this is essentially where your YOSENJU and one of your Kaiju comes into play here. So at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a face-up non-wind monster, so not Godarla, unfortunately, but a non-wind monster, you can destroy that monster. And then there's a pendulum summon, but we don't care about it. During the end phase of this card with special summon this turn, return it to the hand. So what the combo is with this one that I'm noticing, again, I haven't really found it too much. I actually never see it in my deck, even though, because we only run 1. But what you do is you go Star Destroying Kaiju, you drop it on your opponent's side of the field. That gets rid of your opponent's monster. You attack it with YOSENJU Misak, and you can destroy that monster immediately. So it's a free destroy. A little bit more layers than the usual YOSENJU package that we're running, but this one's really cool. I wish I've been able to use it, but it hasn't really come up in too many of my duels. And then we run 2 YOSENJU Oyams. Again, I haven't used this one yet, but I do like this card on paper. So when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send 1 YOSENJU monster from your hand to the grave, except for this one. Special summon this card from your hand. And then at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's face-up monster, this card's attack and defense become equal until the end of the turn. When this card is destroyed by battle, sent to the graveyard, add 1 YOSENJU. So this card is just a really solid way of just kind of negating any direct attacks that's going to happen, because of course you're taking a risk because you're bouncing your monsters off of your side of the field and into your hand. And the play is to hope you have enough trap cards to keep you covered. But again, if you don't, you have YOSENJU Oyam, which is really, really solid. And it kind of protects you from a direct attack. And then once it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add a YOSENJU, so you kind of get that advantage back that you need. Then we go to Godarla. Absolutely love this Kaiju card. One of my favorite Kaijus. You guys saw it put in work. We double special summoned it on 1 turn. Got rid of Draglubion. Got rid of number 92. Just crazy, crazy card. Got rid of it super easily as well. So Godarla comes in so clutch in this deck. Then we run 1 Matayon, the Time Lord. Time Lords are really interesting. You'll see a lot of them in NR. What this one does is return as many monsters on the field as possible to the hand other than this card and inflict 300 burn damage for each card. And then during your standby phase, shuffle this bad boy into the deck. So again, just another one of those utility monsters that want to bounce cards back to hands. And then we go Star Destroying, which you guys saw with the combo before. We run 1 of those. Then we go 1 Moon Mirror Shield. We saw this in the gameplay where this one literally just gives you plus 100 attack over one of your opponent's monsters. Easy way to destroy it using your YOSENJUs and then bounce them back to the hand. Nice and simple. And then also you get to choose if you want to place it on top or bottom of your deck. In our last gameplay, we placed it on top of the deck because we wanted to draw it again, just to be sure our opponent didn't summon some crazy strong megalith monster. And then we go with the most clutch card in the deck, the Dimensional Fissure. I honestly want to run this at 3. In that gameplay I showed, I was running this at 1. And then I was like, wait, this is the most insane card. So I bumped it up to 2. But my assumption is I'm going to end up either getting rid of... I'm probably going to keep the Trap Holes. I might get rid of the MST and go one more Dimensional Fissure. That's up to you guys. The Fissure is just so crazy in this deck, and you guys saw it put in so much work. Just locks your opponent out of the graveyard. And so many cards, especially in NR Festival, work out of the graveyard. So this just shuts down everything. Then we have our continuous Yosenju Training Ground spell. This one's really cool. So after you do a couple Yosenju things, like normal summoning stuff, you can put counters on this card. One counter, you gain 300 attack for all the Yosenju monsters you currently control, so make them a little bit beefier. And if you put 3 counters on it, you can add 1 Yosenju from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So it's literally just Yosenju's field spell. It's really good. You definitely want to run it. We go 1 MST, but again, might be dropping this down to 0 for the D-Fissure. 3 Torrential Tributes. Such a good card in this deck because you never have monsters on your field anyway. You're always bouncing them back. It's your opponent's... You bounce them back on your end phase. It's your opponent's turn. They summon something. Guess what? T-Tribute. It's over. And again, I was going for like a 2-for-1 kind of combo, but you could get risky and wait for your opponent to summon like 3 or 4, or you could just go 1-for-1. But I like the 2. I think that's a really good sweet spot. You get a nice advantage off of that. So 3 Torrential Tributes, 2 Bottomless Trap Holes. Self-explanatory. When your opponent summons a monster with 1500 more attack, destroy it and banish it. Nice and simple. 3 Compulsory Evacuation Device. All about bouncing things back to the hand in this deck. 2 Floodgate Trap Holes. Essentially, it's just a trap Book of Moon. Really cool. And they can't change back. They have to stay in defense position. So this really helps because if you can't really get over your opponent's monsters, you could do a super slow, grindy game of putting them into defense mode. They can't change back. And then you just attack directly for 900 with comma 2. And then finally, we have another Yosenju trap card, which is absolutely disgusting. Yosenju Sword Sting, where you can reveal up to 2 and then target the same number of face-up cards your opponent controls and return them to the hand. Really, really awesome card here, man. Again, all about bouncing cards back. That's the Yosenju Kaiju deck. I've been absolutely loving it. Don't worry about the extra deck. There's literally nothing in here. I think these are just random from a leftover deck I was using. But that's Yosenju Kaiju's. Guys, this deck is absolutely insane. You have to try it. Let me know down in the comments how you guys would change this deck, or if you guys tried it out and how it did for you in the NR Festival. If you want more Master Duel videos like this, please be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.